Minecraft EDU project focuses on ratios, and in addition to ratios, there's a little tiny bit about graphing, mainly just visualizing and seeing what certain graphs look like. And the world is set up in cubicles. In addition to the cubicles, students could choose to either have an above ground platform to build on, or they could build below ground in an underground cavern. So the students got to choose, depending on which cubicle they chose. It could have contained either the above ground platform or the below ground cavern. So if we just take a look, let's just look at this cubicle here. It is a cubicle built of ratios. Now the ratios are either ratios I asked students to create or the ratios that students made up on their own. So if we look at this is a ratio of boys to girls, and it looks like it's 6 boys to 8 girls. And in front of the ratio we have a sign labeling it 6 to 8 in the correct notation. Here we have a ratio of 7 squares to 8 triangles. And again, in front of it there's a sign labeling it in the correct notation. This is a 7 to 8 ratio. Now, in addition to the ratio, students also had to just look up just a couple different graphs. And if you look, we have a normal distribution here, just to sort of show the shape of the normal distribution. We have a dot plot, a histogram, and then students also had to do bar graph and skewed left and skewed right. So just to sort of get an idea of what those graphs look like. This is a ratio a student just made up. Once they finished with my ratios, they were able to create their own. And this is just a 1 to 2 ratio. I believe his wording was this was 1 CRCT sign to 2 number 2 pencils. And if we go in front of the ratio, there is the correct notation, 1 to 2. And the purpose of this was just to show that ratios can compare anything as long as you use numbers and you use the correct notation to label your ratios. Again, all our graphs, the student chose to do them below ground. This project took students roughly 3 days. Some a little less, some a little bit more, but the average was about 3 days. This is a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 house to 1 mailbox. In this project, they also had to create equivalent ratios, given the ratios that they had already created. For instance, the students might have created a 4 to 12 ratio, and then the next question asked them to create an equivalent ratio. And so, they could simplify the 4 to 12 ratio or increase the ratio, making it 8 to 24 or something. They also had to multiply ratios. So they might have had a 4 to 5 ratio, and then the next question asked them to multiply that ratio by 4. Just to get the basics of ratios down.